Yeah, I'm not really enjoying my life. And I think one of the things that I don't like about myself from a very, very young age um, is the fact that I judge myself a lot. And I guess I'll just show you. These are cheesy potatoes. When they don't have the nacho fries, this is usually what I get. They got some good potatoes, but I judge myself a lot. And I can't pinpoint necessarily when this habit of mine started. Doritos, Locos, Taco, favorite thing. I can't pinpoint when this started. I know of a time when it did start, but I remember I even told a friend of mine this one time. Baja Blast. I told a friend of mine this one time, and I was like, I remember when I was younger, because I was an antisocial kid. I'm the only child in my family. And on my dad's side of the family, I was the first child in the family. Like, out of his brothers, I was the first child to be born. Which is funny because my dad only has me, but my uncles and my auntie got at least 3 kids. I think my oldest uncle might only have like 2 or 3, but I just think that's funny. But I'm the only child. Like, the only thing I've had close to a sibling before I met my close friend I consider my brother was one of my oldest cousins on my mom's side. So me being the only antisocial child, I was very selfish. I didn't want nobody to play with my toys. I didn't really care about being around people. Which I was always around adults. Like, I grew up being around my mom a lot, and my godmom, and my auntie, and everything. Like, I've always been around women in my life, more so than men. But, you know, I was very much my own person at a young age, and growing up, my parents kind of taught me to be mostly independent and stuff like that. But the contrast between the me now and the me back then was the fact that I'm not selfish, and I don't feel like I deserve to be selfish. So I told my friend one time, I think as a child, I knew who I was more so than I know who I am now. Because, you know, when you're a child, you have this sense of self, and it takes a lot to kind of break you out of that character. And at some point, I ended up caring more about how people feel about me than I cared about how I felt about myself, which in then turn changed me to be less selfish and more selfless. And here we are with where I'm at now. But the first instance I can remember this change, because up till 6th grade, I was pretty much, you know, confident in everything like that. I talk about this a lot, especially on my YouTube channel, how I was, my first relationship, my first actual relationship, like, I asked her to be my girlfriend and everything like that. We were good. At some point, I became a-hole. I don't know what happened, but I was a-hole to her. Which, I wasn't the worst person, but I was a-hole. Like, I acknowledge it. It's something that I felt bad about even up to maybe a couple years ago. Not necessarily felt bad about, but regretted it because it didn't get me anywhere. And she wasn't a bad person or nothing. It's just I was. kind of. And then it just kind of went downhill from there because it went from being the a-hole to then being so not necessarily selfless, but then being like, how I want to put it. I don't know. I went from being confident to being so unconfident to the point that I just kind of lost myself for a little bit. And then at 17, I tried to find myself again because I had recently got out of a relationship that wasn't the best. I feel like that was karma for a lot of reasons, that relationship, because I talked about this before too. I was talking to two people at the same time, kind of, feeling things out. I was young in high school, like I'm allowed to do stuff like that. But then it got to a point where it kind of was like, okay, it's getting kind of serious with one, but this other one really likes me. And I ended up choosing the wrong one, who at the end of the day wasn't the best person for me. And ever since then, I've just been choosing the wrong people. And that comes from, like, a lot of people judge me, like, especially people I work with. They judge me for dealing with the people that I've dealt with that they know of. But it's like, I've talked about this before. I'm an empathetic person. I see a lot more of somebody than they would, which I guess comes from being, more intimate with people. And I'm just that type of person. But and inherently, there wasn't a problem. Like, I've understood there wasn't a problem me dealing with these people. It was only a problem with me dealing with these people to a certain extent, because things always start off good. What is this? Oh, this must be that burrito that I got. The grilled cheese burrito, yeah. I've never had this before, so I was like, bump it. I need my order to at least be $25 so I could get the $25 off thing. And Taco Bell never really fills me up anyway. So, but, yeah, so it got to a point. Let me backtrack. It gets to a point where I start to compromise my own feelings, is what I'm trying to say. Because, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about the people I dealt with. Especially one, which is the downside of dealing with people that you work with. The people that know them. And, one particular one everybody has an opinion on, which I understand. But it's just, I kind of bypass those thoughts. Like, you don't see it when you're in the moment, because I'm trying to, not even trying to anything. I'm compromising my own feelings. I don't know why this is so complicated to talk about, considering I've been thinking about it for at least a week. But I end up like overlooking a lot of things, a lot of flaws in people. Because at the end of the day, I understand we're human. We all have flaws. My problem is with myself. I accept that other people have flaws, but I cannot accept the fact that I have flaws. And I don't mean I can't accept, like, it's just disgraceful to be flaws and to have flaws and I'm trying to be perfect. But it's the fact that I judge myself so harshly for having certain flaws or certain things. Like, I realize that I'm in between my 17-year-old self and my 25-year-old self where I'm currently at. Because I have the experience to say that I've lived 25 years of my life. You know, I understand that I'm a grown adult, but at 17, it was a brand new start for me that I feel like I haven't fully processed the things that my teenage self needed to process to kind of like mentally completely go into adulthood, if that makes sense. It's like a lot of the flaws that I feel like I have, I only judge because when I was 17, in my mind, by the time I was 25, I was gonna have a lot more or be in a completely different space and everything like that. Like, I remember being young, real young, and like in my head, like in my real life, I was living my life and everything, but in my head, I had a whole storyline. Like, I was a office worker. Ironically enough, I was dating, or I was married to my wife that also worked in the office. I don't remember if I had kids or not, but I had like a group of friends that we all worked together, and I would go through like different work scenarios, which I don't even remember if I ever actually did work. I just remember in my mind I was at work having fun, living my life. There wasn't a specific age on it, but I was fairly young. I mean, realistically I was fairly young, but mentally I figured like early 20s. And you know, my reality is not the same as my childhood fantasy or even my teenage fantasy, because I feel like I've held myself back a lot, which comes from judging myself so harshly. And that's led me to deal with people I don't necessarily need to deal with for an extended amount of time. Like, I never take people as they are because I don't feel like I deserve a lot better in my life sometimes. Which I'm realizing that now because I'm kind of reflecting on things, reflecting on the people I've dealt with, and spending time with myself. I've come to understand I've settled a lot in my life because I don't think that highly of myself. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I've dealt with like a whole bunch of abuse and everything. Like, nobody's beat on me. Mentally, yeah, whether it be from myself or from the people I was with. I definitely didn't have anxiety until I started talking to this one girl who drove me crazy for like the short, let's see, June, July, August, September, November, 5 months that we were talking. And I remember because I just got, like, when I just started dealing with her, I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm somewhat self-sufficient. I'm in a good place. She comes along, gives me anxiety, my depression worsens. But mentally, I'm recovering from that. Let's see, December, January, February, March, April. 5 months again, that's crazy. The next person I dealt with, I was in a really good place. My confidence went back up. Financially, I was really where I needed to be. I had a good bit of savings, and I was good. And somewhere along the way, my confidence dropped, and I started overexerting myself at work, in the relationship, in life, and I just stopped being really happy. And there's many times I can count in the past couple of years that I've just been numb. And that is a terrible state of mind to be in. But I say that I've been in survival mode for a long time because I have been. I haven't, well, now I'm kind of getting to that point, but I haven't fully let go of that judgmental mindset, because I don't judge people more than I judge myself, which is ironic because I even feel bad for feeling a certain type of way about people, calling them out on their flaws, because I'm always thinking, well, you're no better. You do this, this, and this wrong. And it's like, I'm not a terrible person. I'm too nice, not fully honest, because I try not to hurt people's feelings. Honestly, I would be a lot more selfish if I was like being honest. And this is what kills me about myself, because I go through a period, however long it is, I think a year and some change has been the longest this time. I go through a period of constantly going against my ideals of what makes me happy, trying to make other people happy, trying to, live my life to cater to other people. And then I end up in a space where I'm by myself dealing with my own struggles and everything like that. Because most of the time, the people that I do try to help and look out for aren't really there when I'm going through my own stuff, which is why I'm single now. But as I spend all this time dealing with these people and going against the things that I know would make me happy, I'm not doing what I feel like I should. And especially when you end up living a life where you don't really have time for yourself. So I'm going against all these basic principles of my life, my basic hierarchy of needs, if you will, just to end up in this space right now. And it's like, why am I compromising so much of my life for other people who, A, won't compromise parts of their life for me, only when it's convenient, I've noticed, for most people. B, I'm going to be alone anyway. And C, literally, people will tell you exactly the way the relationship is going to go if you pay attention. And I already know these things. I tell my mom real often. I know a lot. Like, this is why I love my dad, but I hate talking to my dad sometimes. Because if I tell him about something, I don't mean hate. Like, I love my dad. He knows I like talking to him because he's going to give me the hard truths, whether I want to hear it or not. The problem is I'm already thinking about those hard truths. So then when I talk to him, he tell me this, this, and this. So I was like, great. Now you done confirmed that I have to act on this. It's different when you're in your own mind and you can kind of like, you're right, but just push that to the side. When your dad or your mom telling you, you need to do this, this, and this, and you already know, it's like, well, dang, Now I have to do it because somebody else knows. And I know so much about life. I'm not dumb. This is where I feel like the 25 years of my life comes into play. Because people show you who they are all the time. I'm just hard-headed and actively go against listening. And this is why I say I'm the girl in a lot of relationships. Emotionally, I'm the girl. And it's funny because I spent so much time trying to convince a lot of my female friends to not deal with people because they're doing a lot of the same things that the people I date are doing, or maybe even worse. And I'm like, girl, leave him. But this, and this, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I got a coworker right now. If she end up seeing this, she know I'm talking about her because she hard-headed. And I told her just recently, you keep making excuses for this person when you say you going to stop dealing with him and you still going to deal with him. I do the same thing. It's that feeling of if I just love them a little harder, then maybe I can change them. And 10 times out of 10, no, you cannot. Because it doesn't take 3 months to tell about a person. Spilling tomatoes everywhere. It doesn't take 3 months to know who a person really is. And even if you do make it past the 3-month point, there's a point where you know this is how somebody is. Because a person will show you whether they want to change or if they just want to stay the same and just expect you to keep dealing with them. Because I've dealt with that. And it gets so frustrating because I'm actively trying to change. I hate my life enough. I don't need reminders of why I need to hate my life or why I need to hate myself. I want to change. I want to grow. I want to be better. And I've yet to feel that love and support romantically. And obviously, going in a relationship to try and make yourself feel better about yourself is not a good way to go. That's not what I'm trying to do. But, or maybe it is, because I realize another thing. I feel good making other people feel good. Whether I have to make sacrifices on myself or not, I feel, a lot of times I feel like I deserve to live when I'm making other people's life happy. The only problem is that it gets to a point where you're like, well, you're willing to sacrifice a lot to make sure somebody else is happy. But a lot of times they don't even support you. Or, this often happens, it gets to a point where you start to realize, well, they're not going to help you because they think you always got it because you keep presenting yourself as this person that always got it. You don't have to pay me back. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. Oh, well, you got it then. You don't need to, I can ask you for anything and I don't need to give you nothing back. And that's because I don't feel like I deserve to receive anything. Like a friend of mine even offered to let me borrow her car and she got another one. I'm like, no, I don't deserve that. Like, it scares me to receive good things from people. So I often reject the good things, which is why I deal with the people that I deal with. I don't feel a lot of times like I deserve to have genuinely good things. So when something bad happens, like, well, duh, that was supposed to happen. I just got to keep dealing with it because maybe this is what you deserve. Like, this person came into your life for a reason. And the fact of it is they came into your life for a reason. That reason being you're selfless, not selfish. And my dad told me this many times. I can't remember word for word what it was exactly, but it's pretty much everybody operates for themselves. If you're dealing with somebody, you're dealing with somebody for a specific reason. And I thought that was bad at first because a lot of times it's selfish and it's a negative reason. But at the end of the day, who are you with? Yourself. It's literally human nature to decide that I'm going to do this for myself and my well being. Now, for me, it's not necessarily I want to screw somebody over to get my way. Like, that's where I feel like there's a line that you have to cross when it comes to human nature. And I don't want to cross that line where I have to screw somebody else over. But I need to be more selfish. And I feel like I'm getting into that era. And I used to feel bad about it, but it's like, why? This is where you need to be. And every time I'm by myself, I'm good. I'm thriving. It's just right now, a lot of things are kind of falling apart. Like these past 5 months have been, I wouldn't even say they've been draining per se. It's been kind of draining. It's like, okay, one thing after another just keeps going on. When is it going to get good? When is my life going to flourish? Oh, another bad thing happened. Oh, no. But it's getting to a point. It's getting to a point now where I'm accepting that these things are happening. Because I used to be of the mindset that, oh, something bad happened to you, duh, you're a terrible person. And then even when I get out of dealing with people and I reflect on the relationship, and it's like, well, of course, this wasn't going to work out for you. Look at what you did. Look at how you handled the situation. You literally did not clarify any boundaries. And boundaries that you thought you had, you didn't have, or you so easily disrupted them to make somebody else happy when they wouldn't do the same for you. Or even if they did, it wasn't to the extent that you would, because they have a clear sense of self and you don't. That's why when I was 17, it's such a pivotal moment for me. Like, I might forget a lot of different things in the years from 17 to 25. But I remember that very clear moment when I got out of that relationship with my last high school girlfriend. And the change, like, I literally did not know who I was. I was starting from scratch. So mentally, that cleared a lot of things in my mind, because literally I'd had to start from scratch. It was like so much. I think it was like a 9 month long relationship. All 9 months was pretty much dedicated to her. And I attached so much of myself to her. That's why I'm not really friends with a lot of people. Like, I literally went to school with most of these people, introduced them to her, and they became her friends. And we broke up, and they still seemed like they was more her friends. I'm no longer friends with those people. I don't keep in contact with them like I used to. Hell, I don't really keep contact with a lot of the people I was in high school with. And it's like I literally changed everything around me. Like, I had my 17th birthday, which was like a big thing for me because I spent time with friends, and even my cousin was there. So it was like I had time to just enjoy life for a second. And then we moved up here to South Carolina, and it's like a literally new environment. Everything was new. I was figuring myself out, which is a terrible place to be when you're a senior. You just started your senior year, going to a new school. You don't know half these people. You can build a friendship with them, but it's not nothing as solid as the people you done gone to school with for 3, 4, 7 years. You don't know anybody like that. But I was discovering myself, which is why, again, 17 is so pivotal to me. I feel like I haven't had too much time to process all of my emotions. Like, from everything from that beginning point up till now, I feel like there's a divide between my mentality because I haven't allowed myself to feel a lot of emotions that come from that. Like, I think now I'm getting to that point where I'm feeling different things. Because there be times where I'm just like sad. I might want to cry. You know, I'm a man. I'll just be honest with y'all. Plenty of times I don't wanted to cry. Just sit down, cry. And I don't give myself too much time for that. Which is ironically enough, when I was, I think, 18 and 19, I was meditating a lot more, exercising like real consistently. So I think those years were good. That's why, as far as like life goes, those was maybe 2 or 3 good years, probably 18, 19, 20. 3 good years of life. Well, except when I was working at Wendy's, that was like the worst possible job I could have. And a lot of stress came from working in there, blah, blah. But it was a good point in my life. And I think I got over a lot of the stress that came from those jobs and everything like that. But it's just like relationships, haven't really had time to really focus. And I'm getting to that point now of thinking like, okay, you did this, you did this. I'm seeing people for who they are. And I'm letting myself leave behind the expectations that I have for people, including myself. Because I'm 25 in age. But there's so much of my life that I have yet to experience just because of the fact that I never gave myself the chance to just live and be happy. And the few times that I did throughout the years as an adult, they were ended up being muddled with dealing with the wrong people, whether it be friends or relationships, just getting involved with the wrong people. I made some memories, some good ones, some bad ones, but I've never been able to just live for myself. I kept doing things for other people, other people's approval. And there's been plenty of times where I felt way more like a child, just trying to fit in, than an adult that's conscious of his own decisions and everything like that. Which is why I don't drink or smoke. Because when I used to, I didn't really like the person that I was. I felt like a follower. And like even now, I'm still figuring out things in life. Like my coworkers are trying to get me to shoot my shot at people that come to work, which admittedly, I could shoot my shot if I wanted to. But there's a lot of things that stop me from doing it. The main thing being, I don't feel like I deserve to talk to. I'm not gonna say I don't feel like I deserve to talk to women per se, but it's like I always get stuck on the what can I add to your life, which is a bad mindset because that's why I end up dealing with the people that I end up dealing with, because I can add a whole lot to their life. I don't even know what I would do with a woman that asks nothing of me. I think I'd be scared. Like, if she not asking me for nothing, then she really don't need me. I can't make no mistakes. But then it's also, I have to realize or remind myself more so, a relationship is a back and forth, whether it be friendship, romantic, or otherwise. What can you do for me and what can I do for you? It's like we both have to get some type of mutual, I don't want to say reward, but we both have to get something mutual from this. And we're not giving more of ourselves than we need to. And we both understand and clearly define that line of where we are. Because it's like, obviously, if the wrong people can come to me, the right people can come to me too. I'm the only one holding myself back. And I don't know, right now I just kind of want to take time to really define myself, my confidence, and everything like that, and understand who I am without all this judgment going on in my head. Like, I think I'm not going to say I'm letting my anxiety go, but I think I'm learning how to breathe through it and understand that life isn't as bad as I think it is. And God knows I'm not as bad as I think I am or have thought I am. I'm getting to that point where I want to live. Like, there's been too many times where I've been more passively living and not really enjoying too much of myself, to the point that I was like, hey, if I got hit by a car and died, wouldn't be such a bad thing, you know? I don't really got nothing to live for right now. It's a terrible mindset to be in. Luckily, I'm still here. But I want to let go of I want to let go of the side of me that's so judgmental. I guess I want to let go of the need to be anybody other than myself. Because there are qualities that I do expect of myself that are of myself. Like, I do need to raise my standards and do more for myself and stop settling for a lot of things. But I can't be Superman to everybody and be this perfect person and everything, going against myself, because it even gets to a point where it's like you're not yourself for so long that when you finally start to be yourself, nobody knows who you are, not even you. Because it's like, this isn't the dude I was introduced to when I first met him. Who is he? And that changes a lot of people's perspective of you. And you don't get the respect that you deserve because you didn't, I'm not going to say you didn't make yourself that person, but you didn't start off with being that person. You let a lot of things slide, let a lot of things be compromised of your own beliefs, your own self and everything like that, to the point that, well, it's too late for anybody to decide to respect you because you haven't made yourself anything to respect. And the wrong person is going to take that and treat you the same. And I'm tired of introducing myself as a lower version of the person that I am. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times I've been that child just trying to please a parent. Man, like, really thinking about it, that's all I've been trying to do in my relationships with people. Because I even told my mom this. I was like, the way that the people that I've dated act remind me so much of the negatives of my parents, that all I'm doing is the same thing that I would try to do with them. When I get the silent treatment, when they're angry, you know, I shut down and become this lesser version of myself, to the point that I'm just maybe a scared kid just trying to make the pain go away. And it's like, I don't want to deal with conflict because it turns me into that child that never could deal with conflict before. Even I don't really deal with rejection either, just because of the fact that I've never tried to really go for anything that I want. I will let a lot of things come for me. And rejection kind of hurts because the only time I will go for something is when I'm desperate or I really need a change in my life. So of course it's not going to work out. It's not meant to be in your alignment because you only want this because you're desperate. You're not doing this out of your own will. You're doing this because it's kind of the last resort or the first resort, because I have a bad habit of picking the first thing that comes to me instead of waiting out my options, because I feel like nothing better is going to come. Dang. I've been unpacking a lot these past couple months because I'm seeing a lot of my flaws, but instead of being so judgmental, I'm accepting that there are things that need to change about myself and my environment. And I really have to heal that inner child when it comes to conflict, especially because I hate how I shut down even at the most angriest. I kind of shut down. I don't like taking my anger out on anybody, even if they deserve it, because it would either lead to a bigger conflict, or I feel like they're not gonna get what's justified, because there's probably a lot more in the tank than I think. But I'm working on that because I realize that just being quiet and shutting down or shutting everything out instead of actively talking through my problems or anything. Which another problem is the fact that when I do talk about, hey, this bothers me, a lot of people just try to shut me down or shut me out. I'll be like, oh, Dale, you can't feel like that, or you shouldn't feel like that, or you should just get over it because blah, blah, blah. This is how they are, something else. And it's like, no, if I have a problem, I want to speak on it because I never get the chance to speak on it. Like, I'm 25 years old, and a lot of people still won't let me explain my feelings about certain things because they either don't want to hear it, or it usually involves them and they don't want to hear about themselves. Because I've told plenty of people plenty of different things and they don't listen. But I do the same thing. So instead of trying to outwardly change everything about people that don't want to change, I need to inwardly change things about myself, because I do want to change and improve as a person. And I think that the relationship that I'm meant to be in will be there on the other side of this character breakthrough, because of the fact that the me I am now, I have a lot of good qualities, I have a lot of bad qualities, but I wouldn't want to be with the love of my life or even bring kids into this world being any part of incomplete that would hurt them. The last thing I want to do is be somebody's point of trauma, especially a child, which is why I'm typically nicer to kids and everything like that, because I want them to have a space where they can be a kid, because I didn't give myself that. But there is so much for me to unpack and heal from. I think that's another reason why I don't typically try to go out of my way and date people, which is ironic because I've still been dating. But it's like, I don't feel, especially people I consider like genuinely nice and happy with themselves. Like, you can see how somebody feels about themselves and you can tell a lot about them. And I think that's why I don't really, like, the people I've dealt with, they've been confident in everything, but I've been kind of a compliment to that. Like, they feel highly of themselves, and then I would add on to that. And I think it's two parts why I'm kind of scared to deal with people, because it's like, I don't want to ruin your life with my depression, because I'm still figuring that out. But I also don't want to, I guess that's pretty much what it boils down to. I don't want to ruin your life with my depression and my negatives of myself, because I don't believe as highly of myself as you do. I don't want to drag you down into my pit, and I don't know if it would be worth you dealing with me while I'm getting out of that pit, which is a negative, a big negative about myself mentally, but also the biggest thing that holds me back from dealing with people who probably are better for me. And it gets me a lot more scared to deal with people, because I just don't think I'm ready. Which, when will I ever be ready is a question, but I just feel like I'm not. But one day I will be. And at the very least, at least I know this about myself. I feel like a lot of times people spend their whole life not really knowing who they are. Or if you're like me, actively trying to avoid it. But I think I'm finally understanding who I am as a person. Well, I'm not finally understanding. I'm finally listening to myself because I've been understanding who I am as a person. I just never let myself take time to actively reflect on that. Because there's a lot that I want to do before I hit 30. And I'm not going to do that if I keep holding myself to the same low standards and not letting myself be 100% myself. I give my life, or so much of my life, away to something else other than myself. And I need to stop doing that. Which again is why I bought Taco Bell. My friends keep telling me, you need to treat yourself. And I never feel like I can. This is a rare opportunity where a meal costs $10. And I just happen to have $10. And I get paid on Wednesday. But I'm finally seeing things for what they are. And I'm becoming okay with it. Nobody has to be anything. I don't have to be anything other than what I want to be. And whether somebody changes or not doesn't have anything to do with me as long as I'm true to myself. And so many times I've said that and still have not been true to myself. Because it's easy to be true to yourself when you're by yourself. But it's hard to be true to yourself when being true to yourself with other people, if you're a people pleaser, well, if I say this or I do this, it might hurt their feelings. And I'm getting to that point where it's like, well, if that's the case, it's either a conversation or it's the end of that relationship. I'm tired of walking on eggshells for everybody else. And I haven't. It's not me being true to myself. I don't want to have to quiet down or be less of myself to please other people. And I might come off rebellious the way I do it sometimes because there's still a lot of parts of me that's that teenager that started rebelling a little bit and got knocked off his high horse. So I there are plenty of times I've been unapologetically myself. Maybe to the annoyance of others, I don't really care. But that's how I want to live my life 100% of the time, regardless of what's going on around it. And by the end of this year, I will get there. And a lot of things will be different because I will be holding myself to different standards from now on. And even if I lack, or even if I relapse sometimes on certain values and things like that, life is a learning experience. And let's say healing and growth is not lateral. Is it lateral? I think it's lateral. It's not lateral, or it's not one. It's not one straight line. There's ups and downs and everything like that. But I'm getting there. And my phone is dying, so I'm out.